Last week, I spoke about how to make your booth or storefront a stroll stopper. I talk a lot about scroll stopping on social media. We need to think of how to stop a person's stroll since there's so much competition, and you have to think about what's going to set you apart from others in a vendor mall or downtown shopping area. In that episode, I give you 10 tips to stop that customer's stroll. Now, in this week's episode, I'll be interviewing Shyla from Decorizing Your Life, and she is an amazing creative that is full of color. I absolutely love her style, and her latest project is creating a new creative space. She is in the process of pivoting her business by creating a shop where she'll be showcasing other vendors in this creative space. This is a huge undertaking, and I cannot wait to dive into this interview.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrook.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled. I'm your host, Sonnet Ullenbrook. I want to thank you all for joining me today on my podcast. This is episode 39. And if you guys are new here, I do like to interview different creatives or small business owners every other week, and then love talking all things business. I'm hoping that I have been inspiring you along with my guest hosts. Now, in today's episode, I'll be interviewing Shyla from Decorizing Your Life. I first discovered Shyla through Debbie Beard after I started selling DIY paint. I wanted to just learn as much as I could about the product itself. And I went to Debbie's page, and Shyla would be creating different DIY videos, and I would get sucked into her videos, you guys. She is so funny and creative, and I just loved every video I would see. But then I had the opportunity to actually meet Shyla when I went to Debbie Beard's paint inlay party. It was in California, and that's when I was actually able to officially meet her in person. And I felt like we hit it off right from the start. We had just so much fun hanging out just for a few days while we were in California. And I just love seeing and watching her grow her small business. She's definitely not afraid to pivot depending on, what the world throws at her. So I'm going to bring her on now. Welcome, Shyla. Thanks so much for being on my podcast. Yeah, thanks so much for being here. And, since I'm sure some of my viewers and listeners haven't really had the opportunity to have found you yet, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I started out doing hair for around 23 years,
Okay.
and I actually got my instructor's license. And my big ultimate goal was to own a cosmetology school because I love to teach. And it just, every time I was going to buy the school that I actually went to and subbed in, the door just never would open. And finally
Right.
I gave up and it's like, why am I trying to kick this door down? It's just not happening.
Right.
Well, then I got a divorce, and after 17 years, had 4 girls, and I moved. I ended up moving and remarrying. He had 3 kids, so we had a blended family of 7. That's been wild. That's another talk show if you ever want to do that one. But anyway, so I was in a town, and I started being a pharmacy tech, different side of the
Oh,
brain. Like
okay.
you might could hurt people with that one. And I was like, after 2 years, I was like, I'm done, and I'm going to go back to doing hair. And my husband said, instead of renting, just buy that building down there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So it's actually the building, I'll get to that part, that I'm moving into. So it was 2,300 square foot. And I was going to open it as a cosmetology school.
Okay.
Okay. Because it was you needed certain regulations, and that was one of them. Went to sign the papers on the building and was having I had plans for years. I got a notebook already ready to go. Right. And heard they were going to start a career tech, is what they call it now, VOTech, 10 minutes
Okay.
away. I was not going to compete with a federally funded
Right.
accredited school because I was going to be
Yes.
self-owned. So I was like, okay, I'll just have it a salon. So this little bitty part of this back part of this building, and if you follow me on Decorizing Your Life, Facebook, YouTube, all that, you'll see it, was my salon. And this whole big, beautiful 14 feet building storefront was just empty. I had
Okay.
no vision. And so I was just back there doing hair, and had my stylist and my nail tech and all this going on. And the girl that worked with me said, "Hey, my sister owns a salon gift store. Let me take you to wholesale places." So I literally went with her and spent, it cracks me up now, was almost to throw up spending $200 of just little bitty inventory. And I caught the retail bug.
Okay.
And so that now you add a whole bunch of zeros on the end when you buy inventory. And
Yeah.
anyway, so that just kind of grew. And yeah, so then another personal, but this happens with our life, right? And you got
Yeah.
to, okay. So my husband and I now, we've been married 17 years, took a commercial break, is what I call it. It was over
Okay.
2 years and 3 months. So I left town, left this thriving. I had a stained glass artist in the front. I had a t-shirt business in the front, plus my retail, plus the style. It was actually legitimately making money. All
Oh,
right. Plus my
yeah.
hair. Took out and started working for Supercuts, barely
Oh,
minimum wage. I literally went in a blur because so I went there, and so we got back together, and I started doing hair again and ended up just running the front. Then it was just crazy. And so I had one bird left in the nest out of seven. And I was
yeah.
like, I have missed so much with the first of my kids. So I just literally pretty much was the gopher for my husband's family businesses. And for a couple of years, and I rented out that beautiful dream building. It was my dream building. And I let it go on my heart to let somebody else buy it. They were renting to buy.
Yeah.
Anyway, two different times. So for 9 years, this is what was going on in that building. Even stopped for a little bit and helped her to make her coffee shop, gift store, helped her. Anyway, so here my kids are all gone for 2 years. I'm working in this building my husband bought to live in after our commercial break.
Yeah.
Is where I'm at right now. 1,200 square feet up here, 1,200 square feet downstairs. So I had like my little retail, but then I taught one class. I took a little corner of my fashion, jewelry, home decor, some of my flipped furniture that I actually bought. I wasn't really flipping furniture there. Took one little corner, did one workshop. And because of that teaching thing in there, I was like, I'm going to teach them how to do this. They're going to bring their own piece, and we're going to do this. And I just was like, almost like a man side of the brain. We're going to get this done, and it's going to be.
Yeah.
And when they came, they just were like, they came for a social event. Yes, they
Right.
wanted to do their project and have fun and learn a technique and take a beautiful thing home, but it was like a social. So I stole a little bit more space and a little bit more space and a little bit more space.
Oh,
So
yeah.
finally it's all, and then I started adding DIY, JRB, Iron Orchid, all these other craft products. And that's what I sell. But then I missed the retail and I have no room. So when that building come open again down there, I had a big decision. What do I do? Because now I don't have that big time rent I was getting every month, you
Right.
know,
Yes.
and it was going to cost me utilities. And I was, it was going to be huge because I got a nice little thing going that's easy right now.
Right.
And so anyways, I decided to go for it. And to help pay the rent, I decided, because I've been a booth renter, I
Mhm.
have done craft shows, I've had a storefront, I've done it all, right? So I decided to rent out some spaces to help pay the rent, and I'll still have room for my stuff. And where my salon was is now my art studio where we have workshops eventually when I open. I'm sorry, it's a long story, but I've done a little bit of everything. If you need, call
Yeah,
me.
you have.
Okay. So I think I
Okay.
figured out what I want to be when I grow up.
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, but it's
I
a
love
lot
it. I
because
know.
none of it's as successful as a salon, but I want to get there. And I think I'm heading the right way.
I think you are too. Wow. I know, like, I was gonna ask you, I wanted to tell you or ask you a little bit about yourself,
Yeah.
and then I was gonna ask you how it got started, but that is like the gist of it.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, because I always was curious, like, okay, now I just need to know. So do you own both of the buildings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we actually are moving where we live 20 minutes away, and we have a 5-bedroom house, huge barn
Okay.
property the
Yeah.
house was almost 2,400 square feet, and I took almost every piece of I have a tour if you want to watch my YouTube of this little place. I think I have it on there to 1,200 square. I put all that furniture up here, upstairs. Yeah, so we
So
live up
did
here,
oh,
and
you
then
do
I
live
still have so this will be my little working studio down there, my overstock, but mostly it'll be down the just 2 blocks down the street is my other building in this town.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, are you sad you're moving from your home with the barn and all of
No,
that?
I was ready. We,
You were.
yeah, I was ready. We lived there because my mother-in-law is still the full-time librarian. She's 80 years old, full-time
Yeah.
librarian goals. I would still want to be doing this at 80. Anyways, and I just it's our businesses wasn't there. We basically lived there because it was in between all the other stores. My husband's family owns it. They sold all but one now.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it was in that town, and my daughter's actually, running. She's a pharmacist, so she runs that one. So no, I didn't. No, I wanted to be here
Okay.
where I'm at.
Oh,
It's not a
that's
lot bigger. It's only,
awesome.
yeah.
I know, like, well, I follow you, so I was like, "Okay, now she's selling her house," and, like, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes things like you wanna downsize
Mm-hmm.
or,
We did.
like, things happen and you never know, and so, like, but
Yeah.
that's awesome that you wanted to downsize and do
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
um, I know, like, on a future podcast, I'm gonna be talking about this, but I have every year I set goals for myself, and I feel like I've made a decision about a piece of property, and so,
Mm.
I'm gonna spill the beans more, in the
Woo! I can't wait.
future, but yeah, it's scary to me.
Uh-huh.
So there's
Mm-hmm.
so many choices and things like that.
Yep.
So I am so proud of you, like owning the 2 storefronts and like now you
Mhm.
just it seems like you really have a good vision. So
Yeah.
and I think, like I know you were gonna do that soft opening that I saw you talking about, but things
Yeah.
happen, get pushed
Yeah,
back.
I
So
was really pushing because I literally just decided to do this direction instead of staying where
yeah.
I'm at. Because 'cause I'm also organizing and decorating homes,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I still wanna build that. It's I love it, I'm good at it. As chaos as I am, I'm really good at it, and it's really good money. But anyway, so where was I going with that?
So let's see. So first of all,
Mm,
I want to find out like you went from doing
mhm,
hair,
mhm,
you were at a pharmaceutical
mhm.
tech, and then you taught a class and you realized that that was like I totally
Uh-huh.
see why you felt that way because you're
Yeah.
amazing. Like when I would watch your videos, you would suck me in and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, she's such, I want to try that." And
Yeah.
so, like I said, I followed you way before I met you.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And so, like, I
Wow.
wanna know, how did you come up with your name, your business name? Like, okay, so you
Well,
started
I
doing
did
this
that.
and
Yeah, I decorating and organizing. So
okay.
decorizing. And then I wanted your life in it because it wherever you're at, I want to decorate and organize it. I want my tagline is beauty with purpose. So I
Oh,
want things to be beautiful, but I want it to function. And
right.
I always say function first, make it pretty later when I organize.
Yeah.
But so that was where that came from because and also life entails sometimes I throw a recipe in there, sometimes I throw fashion in there because I want to be able to do all of that because that's just wherever I go, I want it to be pretty.
Mhm. Oh,
I
I
want to
know.
fix it and so
Yes.
that's it.
So on your pink wall, if you guys missed it, in her new space, and we're gonna get to that new space and talk a little bit more about it and, like, what you've been doing, but she hand painted you must have used Kissing Booth, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, Kissing Booth,
Hmm.
and a lot of it right?
It took about for those two partial walls,
Yeah.
ended up taking about not quite the biggest DIY
Oh,
34 ounce, but yeah.
yeah.
It goes a long way. It's messier, but you can do it on your walls because you have to
Okay.
dilute it. So it does make a little bit bigger mess, but it's totally
Okay,
possible.
so you
And then it
diluted
can
it.
be chalkboard. Then you
Yeah.
can write on it. But I went ahead and sealed it so I'd have it more gloss.
So it's only half walls because I was like, "You should
Hmm.
definitely put your tagline somewhere on it." I just
Oh,
love
I didn't
that.
think about putting my
Yeah,
tagline. I think I will. Thank
yeah.
you.
I I just
I
thought
will.
about it, like, when I'm like, "Your that
I
wall
haven't
is
done
like."
that. Oh, thank you.
Yes. I think it will be so beautiful. I think it will look awesome because I think
That's a good idea.
I love your tagline.
Yeah.
So, as you've made okay, so I want to take a step back a little further about so we figured out how you came up with your name.
Mhm.
I want to know then, like, how did you decide from going to, like teaching classes, like how did you discover DIY paint and like how did you get
Mm.
into like that, all those great products?
Well, I was making my own paint.
Oh, you were.
And yeah, and I just bought like when I have my salon and stuff,
Hmm.
and just for years, I purchased the things I do now. I just purchased them. And I
Okay.
didn't know how to do anything. I'd painted a few things. I was a wall girl. I can texture and wallpaper, and I did all that kind of stuff, but not on furniture. And so I always just bought it and I would never sell it. People would try to buy my displays. I was like, nope, I can't sell it. And I still kind of
Right.
do that today. And you know what my husband says? He's like, how much are you gonna sell that for? Oh, I can't sell this. And he's like, honey, everything's for sale
That's what
except
I
your
say.
body. It's so
I
bad.
literally say
It's
that
so
all the
bad.
time.
You
Yes.
get emotional attachments to it. So
So
anyway,
true.
so yeah, that's so I just did that. And then I got with another paint company, but they were not like, it was like it was crazy. I won't say the name. Somebody
Okay.
else we know and love was with them too. And it was good paint, but I got 20% off to build their business. And then I would see they would have the same stuff I was trying to sell for 30% off sales. It was
Oh,
just not a good. So then somehow I found Debbie and literally bin watched every molecule of everything she did way back.
yeah.
Okay. I could probably tell her stuff about herself that she said that she's forgotten because I went so far back. And then
Right.
I thought, well, maybe I should be a retailer. And I told the other company, reached out to them. I just want to tell you, there was no connections, no setup for them. It was just their business model wanted to be just them sell it,
Right.
so that was fine. We can do whatever we want. So I even wrote them an email, hey, I'm going to go. And they were like, oh, yeah, that's fine. So I paid $200 to go to Dion Turquoise Iris thing. And Debbie was the guest.
Okay.
And she let us, Dion, I just love that she can mess up. She didn't bring paintbrushes. Well, I wanted to sell this paint, but I'd never tried it. So we dipped our fingers in it.
Yes.
And the pigment was so heavy. I was walking around, look. So I'm so glad she forgot the paintbrushes because I was like, look at this. I was like, I'm in. I am
Mhm.
so in. And
Yeah.
then I won Debbie's piece of furniture. It was a whole God deal. It was a whole God. I do have a YouTube video on that. That was a sign from God, do it. And then
Yes.
I've never looked back. And I literally, these products made me artistic. I would never say I was an artist ever. And now I finally am like, I am artistic. These make you artistic just because I binge watched everybody's lives.
Right. Oh
So
gosh, I
that's how it
know.
got
I
started.
I actually like so how I was introduced to Debbie through my mother. So my mom, so Connie from the Paint It Photographer,
Hmm.
my mom discovered her YouTube channel and then
Yeah.
Connie would use DIY. So then my mom actually drove hours, like it was like over an hour to Connie's place where she sold it, bought a whole bunch of paint, came back and so when I started my channel, my mom I'm like, I really want to find a paint line that I love, that I can stand behind, that I really like. And
Yeah.
my mom's like,
Yes.
have you not heard of DIY paint? I'm like, this is my mom. I'm like, no, mom, I haven't. She's like, okay, I'm gonna give you just a little because it goes a long way. Because she's like she didn't want to give all of it up,
It's gold.
I know it's gold. And I drove hours to get this on it. I'm like, okay. So then
I
I
love your
tried
mom
it and
already.
I was like, I love it.
I
And so
know.
then I'm like, I need to find out because I wanted to also sell paint for a company that I loved the person too. And
Hmm.
then that's when I found I started watching all these videos, but I'm like,
Hmm.
is Debbie the owner? Because at first I couldn't figure it out on some of her
Oh, yeah.
videos.
Uh-huh.
Like, she would do her little dance and, like, she would be promoting it, but I'm like,
Yeah.
"I don't know if this Debbie is the owner of the company or not." Like, that's how finally
Yeah.
a video happened where I figured it out, it was her, and I'm like, "I love her, and I love
I
her
know.
videos,
I
and
know.
I want to be part of this amazing business." So,
Hmm.
that's when I signed up, and I was
Yeah.
scared. I just was so scared because 'cause I'm like, "This
I
is
know. It's
a
a big
huge."
investment. And I actually, when I went to that Dion and Debbie's thing, I I knew because I went back and researched and watched all of it. I knew she was with the company. and she never badmouthed them, but she says there was this company that it didn't end good, and that's what
Mm.
kind of helped her into her. And so I was asking her and her sister, and they would not say a word. They're like, well, I know they just went to, well, I know DIY paint is, they never, the integrity. And how
Mhm.
I wasn't trying to badmouth them. I was like, I want to know, is this good? And
Yes.
they were so honorable and so
Oh.
much integrity. And those are the people you want to be behind. And she just
Mhm.
pours into us. And that I want to
Yes.
do that for others too, like, let
Yeah.
me increase you. Let me
Yes.
help you. It's not like a competition. Let us network. And she shares her story
Yes.
about how she was so scared to share her secrets. And then when she did, her business, boom.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
No, I know. I that's what I always say, like, there is so much love to go around. I
Mm-hmm.
love helping other people grow
Yes.
their business and
Mm-hmm.
get their name out too. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's how Debbie is. And so I knew right away. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, and then then that's when I discovered IOD. And at
Mm-hmm.
first, I was like, oh, because at first, when I think I discovered IOD first, and then I discovered
Oh yeah.
Debbie. But then, at first, I was like, their company model, they're like, how they're just such good people. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
at first, before I knew about like, I thought Debbie was the owner, but then I'm like, is she? Maybe it's IOD. And then Debbie's really like the face of, like, I was trying to
Yeah.
figure it all out. And then
Yeah.
that's when I discovered, like, the sisters were just solely IOD, and then
Uh-huh.
Debbie was that, they're hers. So I am just so blessed to be part of
I
that. So I
know.
wondered how you got involved. So yes,
Yep.
yeah. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. So, like, as you were, getting all of your, the business up and running, has there like been, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced owning your small business? Like, and how have you overcome them?
Well, it kind of goes back to when I was in the salon that this part of my eyes were opened. I was just such a control freak. I think a lot
Yeah.
of us are,
Hmm.
because it is so, it comes out of your heart and your soul and your everything. And so you feel like you have to do it to get the vision to be done, right?
Right.
And that so I actually had all this stuff gathered up for a couple of projects we needed to do for the salon and the storefront and stuff. And I had them gathered up, but then I had to go do something like, I don't know what it was. I think I had to go to court for a ticket or something. And I come back and they just did it. And I was waiting and waiting until the perfect time so I could do it just right, right? And
Yeah.
then you never do it or you procrastinate.
Right.
They did it. And it wasn't like I would have done it. It was better. It was like, it was my first, you gotta take your hands off your baby and let somebody else help you with the baby sometimes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
trust that others people help will increase your vision.
Yes.
So that was my first, like, okay. So now I try to hold things more like this,
Okay. Yeah.
not be cash. So I had to find out I can't do everything I want to do by myself,
Yeah.
because you will be burned out. It won't be as good. And guess why we're supposed to be blessed? So you have enough to bless others. So we
Right.
can give others a good job, or just that, even if they're just helping you without a paid, that it's blessing them to put their part with your part. So
Hmm.
that was a big one. And I see a lot of people that can't do it.
I know.
And guess what? They're going to stay like this. If you don't
Yes.
step out in faith, like what you're talking about property, I mean, it's not that you do it stupidly and just
Hmm.
go for whatever.
Hmm.
You think about it, you research it. And I really love that about you, because as I've binge watched yours, all your stuff, and
Yeah.
you're very, you research it, you get everything you need to know, you kind of get some nuts and bolts going. You don't just, you know, just a go for it person. Yes, I've watched, I've done, I've learned, I'm ready. But that helps me to be like, you know what? I need to just hold back a minute and do it more,
Mhm.
methodical. And so you gotta go.
Yeah.
You gotta, I'm in a time in life where I'm in the middle. I say I'm like, I'm halfway there.
Oh my gosh,
So I got a lot
I
left to
just was
do.
feeling like that. I literally, like, was
Yes.
just okay,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
a couple of points. You just talked about, like, getting like, opening up and stop being a control freak and letting other
Yeah.
people help you.
Yeah.
I just
Hmm.
hired my employee, like an official employee, which was a bit, like, I've
Yeah.
had a helper over the summer, but then she
Hmm.
went back to school and now I officially
Hmm.
have an employee. And so that
Yep.
is number 1. So I totally understand.
Uh-huh.
And like I have to like just go Sonnet, stop analyzing how she's doing it. She's doing just as
I
good of a
know.
job as you,
I
like,
know.
yeah.
I know.
And
It's a
then,
lot.
so I'm talking to her about how I feel like I'm in the middle. Like I'm like hitting like I'm running out of
Mhm.
time. Like like
Yes.
like I
Yes.
don't know why I'm not even that old. I mean, I haven't even hit 50, but I still feel like there's so much stuff I want to do. And
Yep.
I'm like tick tock and like that,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like and so I agree with you. And so that's
Yeah.
where like if I want to move my business forward, like I have to
Yep.
make this decision
Yep.
and yeah. So,
Yep.
yeah. So like you saying that I'm just like, "Oh my gosh," cuz I even said to my helper, she's much younger than me. She's in her 20s, and I said, "You probably cannot relate to this, but this is how I'm feeling." And then you say
Oh,
it
that's
and
so
I was
funny.
like, "Oh my
It's a
gosh, we just
thing.
lit
It's a thing. Yeah,
Yes.
and what's neat about getting older is you got something to go with. You got a little foundation, you got
Yeah.
some mess up experience and some good experiences, and it's just like you're just at a point you're like, "Let's do this thing."
Yes.
And
Yes.
be humble enough that if it if it wasn't quite right, it was still part of the plan. What
Right.
I'm doing now, all my hair career, even though it's different, it builds on it. And my employee I have now, I told her she's 22 and she has a graduate degree, or like she has a psychology degree, and she's getting her esthetician degree, and she'll rent one of the rooms, my old facial room in the new space.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what I am to you? I am one of those college courses that they make you take that has nothing to do with it, what you're going to do. But I promise it all comes together. We're going to
Right.
take a lot of those stupid college classes. It has nothing to do with but it's all part of it. It does this to you.
Right.
And you need people that are not just like you,
Yes,
because we
absolutely.
need each other. Because the methodical people help me to, "Whew, I better just chill out for a second." And then maybe I'm like, "Girl, pull your bootstraps up and just go." We
Yes,
need that.
absolutely. I agree. Yeah, and I know everything like your journey in life definitely like brings you to where yes,
Mhm.
I absolutely agree with that all.
Yep.
So,
All the bad is with purpose if you let it be.
yes, absolutely. So now let's talk about your new venture because I think it's so cool. So what really made you I know like you said you wanted to share the cost, but is that the only reason why you decided to share that creative space with other vendors?
I could fill that whole place up by myself, because one of the businesses that I was in for free booth rent, it was my husband's business that sold 3,300 square foot. Okay, I've trashed the place because I can just have it until we get this done. And so it's just like I could fill this whole place up myself,
Mhm.
but it would be boring. I'll
Right.
be able to offer more, um, because I'm allowing other people in.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm heavily curating it. I'm not just going to fill a booth just to get booth renters, because you know what happens? Your look isn't there. And then
Yes.
if it's not good stuff, the shopper's like, ugh, I'm not coming back. So I'm curating it. I'm being
Mhm.
picky. Um, but yeah, it makes more for the shopper. And I don't want to do, I'm 54. I figured out my style today. Now it'll probably change in 2 years. Right now, I don't want rustic anymore. I don't want country anymore. I love that. I still love that. But right now, I would consider boho. Luxe is my theme. So my
Mhm.
studio downstairs is shabby chic, funky, junky. I'm going to do bohemian luxe. So it's still going to be kind of funky and stuff, but it's going to have a little bit of more elegant, is the overall look, is what I'm going for. But so I don't want to make the rustic stuff anymore. I don't want to try to fit everybody's style. I think that's something with business. You kind of have to do what you love, because you'll have longevity.
Mhm.
Everything I'm doing now, I'll have longevity because I do love it. Now, so 80% of what I do is going to be that. Now, there's always the 20%, "Oh, I don't love this part," or "I don't like this part," but it's necessary, right? And that
Mhm.
keeps you humble, keeps you disciplined. And so that's kind of where I'm at, to just be able to offer that without, where I can just focus on my style, let somebody else have the rustic booth and so
Right.
that's part of the purpose.
Awesome. I love it. Yes, so that also, like, ties into when I did my very first market, the retreat and market that I did in October. I made sure I curated every single vendor
Yeah.
that was there, and it came to
Yes.
be an amazing shopping
Mhm.
experience because, yes, I handpicked the vendors that were part of it, and they
Mhm.
they just all worked perfectly together,
Yep.
so, yeah.
Yep.
So I can just see your vision, and
Yeah.
I just love watching all the different videos you're putting out there and
Oh,
all the,
thank
like, the
you.
clips as you do things,
Yeah.
and I would just encourage keep doing it
Okay.
because I think that's what people love to see, like, behind the
Yeah.
scenes and, like, seeing
Yeah.
what you're doing. So,
Yeah. Yeah, the
um
other thing about why I wanna do the vendors is
yeah,
because I have learned so much, and I want to share that with them if they're scared to start a booth. Don't be scared. If you got something I wanna carry, I wanna help you display it. Take the good
right.
pictures, take the so I wanna share what I have, and I want them to think of that little bitty booth, if it's a 4 by 5, if it's an 8 by 10, I want them to think of it as their mini store.
Mhm.
Think of it as your mini store. And
Right.
so I'm your employee for your mini store while you're gone.
Mhm.
I go into so many people that we're these small starting businesses, some that's done it for years and are successful. They don't have any, I don't know their name. I don't know how to follow them on Facebook. They have
Mhm.
no signage. They have no cards. They have no, I would love this. Do you have it in another color? Can you custom something? I don't know nothing. They just put their stuff in there, they leave, and then they come reflip it. I want them to think about this is a business because when I
Mhm.
started doing hair as a booth runner for pretty much 20 years of the 23 that I did it, I had a little space and that was it. And literally, I had no vision for anything else. I didn't even think of myself as creative. I didn't think of myself as a business owner. I just did my little thing right here.
Yeah.
And as you step out, it's like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. you know? So that's just where I was at. And I want to help them get to where I'm at sooner if this is what they
Yeah.
want to do and
Right.
still balance
Yeah.
God, family, business. Oh,
Mhm.
is that hard to keep in order?
I know.
It is.
It honestly
Ah,
it is very hard, and,
yeah.
I actually just spoke to a customer today, and I was talking about, like, having the good balance, like, she called me because she was trying to order something online, and she didn't wanna miss out, and, like
Oh,
and
yeah.
then she's like, "Girl, I don't know how you do it," and I said, "Well,"
Uh-huh.
and she said, "I emailed you this past weekend,"
Oh,
and I said, "Honestly, I'm taking a step back on the weekends." Like, that is, like, my I'm
yes.
trying to,
Yes.
like, step away because I need to
Mhm.
have this good balance in my
Yep.
life, and it's gonna make me more creative
Yes.
and help prevent burnout because then she's like, "I don't know how you do it all. You have to work on the weekends." And I'm like, "Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm trying to walk away."
Yep. You're more
So
productive if we would just remember, I can know this and stop and forget. If you're more productive if you'll do that when you go
mhm,
back in.
right.
But it's hard, and I'm an empty nester. You still got one at home.
Oh, yes, and she's
So it
quite
does make a little
demanding.
bit difference. But I love my husband. I really love him and we enjoy each other. And
Yes.
so I got to remember, okay, at night, like I'm loving brainstorming and texting and commenting and stuff, but yeah, so it's a thing.
It is. It's hard. It is, like, legit hard because, like, I have to, like, literally turn it off,
There you
so
go.
but, that is too why I realized it's gonna be a healthier me, like,
Mhm.
by doing, like, my next step goals that I kinda, like, hinted
Yes.
about because
Yes.
we live in a very cozy little tiny home, and it's not big by any means,
Mhm.
and having an entire business run out of here is, like, definitely causing heartache. I mean, like, so yes, and so we have to
Yes.
take next steps, and
Yep.
so, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, so, I guess this, is a definitely a huge undertaking that you come up with this idea.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been watching the steps, and you talked about trying to like make, like being more, like set, like doing different things. I mean, how are you putting this all into action? So if somebody were to try to do this, create, because this is like, just so you know, like I'm in a yield goat that is very curated. It's kind of like what
Yeah.
you're talking
Yeah.
about. And
Yeah.
I mean, how did you decide to do this? And like, like this is step one, this is step two. Like, can you tell us?
Well, it was hard because that thing hasn't been painted in 15 years,
Okay.
and it was lived on hard for 15 years. It was a
Yes.
cafe restaurant, like coffee shop. Yeah, it was a lot. And so I just had to pretty much, it would have probably taken longer, but I do have like, I don't know. I just had to stop taking organizing and decorating clients. So
Okay.
financially it was hard. So you have to
Right.
kind of, yeah, say, hey, it's going to do some planning, It's going to, it took me away from that. That was, actually part
Yep.
of the moneymaker. And I was really just growing it. So it wasn't even where it needed to be. So, and then I just got in there and did it. And it's been hard because I have to stop and go do the only business they have left downsized. And that's a
Oh,
paid job for me, you
okay.
know? And so we're having to stop and go do that. Like Sunday, I try to never do anything on Sunday. That is the one day I do try to protect. And I had to go down and sand and stain some extra shells we didn't know we needed. And they needed them today because the people were going to come in and set the stores. A team was. And so it's, yeah, I have a list. Let me just show you just for an example.
Okay.
This is my
Oh,
secretary,
I
and I
love
love
it.
her so much. And literally, I'm a paper person. I have to see it,
Me
but it's
too.
just, this is how I do it. I brain dump, do your big ones. Don't think of this perfectly, brain dump it. The building needs painted. You still doing this pay job over here, put everything down, and then you take it in little, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Right.
So
When you ask me that
draw
question,
your
I'm like, how
elephant.
do you eat an elephant?
It's one bite at a time, baby. I've been eating the same elephant for a few years, I think. So you just brain dump it, and literally you can sleep better if you will. If it's all floating around here and you can't sleep, but if you'll just brain dump it, okay, I see it. I'm not going to forget it. And then you just place it, and then you just week by week, just chunks. This
Mhm.
this this week we're eating the hoof. This week we're eating the trunk. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
So it's been a juggle. It really has. And physically my body is, I started that place when I was 36. I'm 54 now. And well, it might have been 38, but I am physically dying. I'm so tired. I'm like, oh. So yeah, it's just chunks at a time.
Yeah.
And being willing to say, I messed up. There's no way. I was pushing. That's where I was going that one time. I can't remember. I was pushing to go ahead and open
Oh,
for those vendors to have the holiday sales. That's why I was pushing so hard.
yeah.
And I didn't have all my vendors recruited, and they're busy and this and
Right.
that's happening. And I thought, you know what? There's not any really ready. So why am I doing this? So I just pushed it back, and I had to humble myself. And I knew the whole time when I was setting my projected soft opening, projected. That was my keyword that I knew I might have to fall back on.
Mhm.
I had to humble myself. You know what? It's just not going to work out, and it's okay.
It is. It is okay. Yes.
You have to be willing to mess up
Mhm.
and keep
Yeah.
going.
And the funny thing is, okay, I just have to tell you a funny story. I used to have my own storefront with my mom, and we worked and we got it all ready, and we did like our like I don't know, it was kind of like a soft opening. We kind of announced that we were opening on this
Hmm.
day, and I just remember we unlocked the door, and we both stood there, and I'm like, "Where's the rush of people?" Like
I
on our very
know. I'm
first
thinking
day,
that might happen here too, because it's a
and
really
I'm
small
just
town, 2,000 people.
yeah, and, and I look back now at, like, we probably should have did more marketing,
Oh, yes, yes.
different things. So and back then too, I don't think that I knew as much as I know now
Hmm.
about, like, social
Yep,
media and, like, all that good
yep.
stuff. So but it was just funny because 'cause I'm, like, expected, like, this huge rush, and
Hmm.
then, it was like crickets, and then finally, when that first customer walked in, we're like, "Woohoo!" You
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm so excited though to see,
I am
like
too.
your journey and like how it's gonna all like transform. And I'm sure it's gonna just be absolutely amazing.
I'm
So
so excited because it's been really tough downstairs. Like we live upstairs, and we had cats, and we have a door that goes open. Like you forget, like I want to be professional. One day I had somebody come after, it wasn't when I was officially open, but I ran down and said, yeah, come on. I have a note on the door, text me, I'm probably upstairs. And so I ran down there and checked them out and served them, and realized I didn't have any shoes or socks on.
that's okay.
Okay. And then another time somebody come from out of town, a big city person, came through and I wasn't open, but I was down there working. So, I'm always looking. I let her in. I said, "Hey, I'm sorry. It's crazy down here." And she said, "Oh, no, don't worry about it." And she started walking through the studio and she goes, "Oh, cat poop, big old cat poop." I was like,
Oh
"I'm not going to
my.
recover from this one." I said, "I am so sorry." She still bought stuff. She was still fine. But I'm ready to have the bigger space, just to do more stuff. And I
Yes.
mean, there was times I wouldn't even open the door because I was so embarrassed of how it was because there's just no room.
Yeah.
Because you know how we are. We got a lot of stuff that goes with us. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're creative, it's just like there's a lot of stuff.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And I love
So,
that you're gonna be doing classes and you're gonna be teaching.
which we
So
did that, but it was limited. Now it's going to be so much better. I'm going to have pop up night. I'm going to have BFF night, best first
oh.
Friday. And I'm
Oh,
going to
I
have,
love it.
yeah, every first Friday, we're going to have from 6 to 8 at night. And I'm going to do like my first one was going to be something different for December, but January is going to be, I'm going to do a 30 to 45-minute presentation on how you can organize your home without hiring me as a professional organizer. And
Ooh,
then we're going to do a little tea-tail project. And I'm only doing it for like $22. So I'm going to figure out how all this is going to go. But that's going to be our fun
yes.
event night because I want
Awesome.
to have price points. Like some people can't afford the $65 project we're going to do, but they still want to have fun. Okay, I have this option. Your friend's doing this one. You can do a little $20 towel or something or jar. Or, you can just come and do a free demo and be with the fun. Because not,
Mhm.
and then you can bring everybody in. Everybody's having
Right.
fun and
Yeah,
part of the experience with when they can't maybe afford it.
right.
So
Oh, that's awesome. I
yeah,
like
and
that.
shop, of course.
And shop.
Oh, you got this and you got that.
I
That was
know.
one other thing about business when I had my stained glass artist and the t-shirt shop in the front, and I did hair in the back, and I did have the retail up front too. But anyways, I people would come in for the stained glass artist, and they were like, "Oh, you have a hair salon?" Customer.
Right.
They come in for the t-shirt. "Oh, I didn't know about stained glass was even a thing. You can custom?" Customer.
Yep.
"Oh, I didn't know that." So it's like good to not just be, I got it all going on and I
Mhm.
only need my stuff and this is my world. Because guess what? Their person helps my person, helps it all.
Mhm.
That also opened up. You need a network. Don't
Right.
just have everything you like or don't be as scared of competition. There, like you said, there is enough for everybody.
Oh, there is. Yeah, so over at the Yield Goat where I have 3 different vendor booths, but one is over at the Goat, and, I recently did from one of my YouTube videos, I just went in. It was a day where I don't know if you ever feel like I just could not get my creative juices going or flowing to do an actual like a video to like showcase something. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go over there and I'm just gonna showcase how amazing, the yield goat is. So I did like I walked through the
Oh,
front
yeah.
and then I showcased different vendors that had their holiday booth set up. And then I did showcase mine because I was, like,
Yeah.
lacking, and I talked about where I, envisioned my booth to go, and, it generated so much business for the Yield Goat. I mean, honestly, like, it was just one of my best like, YouTube did pick it up a bit and, like, shoot it out,
Uh-huh.
but people were coming in, they're like, "We saw
Oh,
Sonnet's video, and we're here to shop," and, I had, vendors messaging me, like, thanking them or thanking me for including them in the
that is
video and
so,
that, like,
yes.
they saw, like,
Didn't that feel
furniture.
good? And
Yes,
it
it
just
felt
gives you
so good.
endorphins to keep going and to do
Yes.
more and to take others
Yeah.
on their way.
Absolutely, and
That's
you
a
made
much
a
better life.
yes, I think so too, and you made a really good point about having, like, business cards and all of that in your in
Yeah.
every booth.
Yeah.
I actually in my membership group, there was a gal in there, and she has her vendor booth, they cannot have any business cards. Nobody knows
Oh.
where to find her. She cannot put any signage saying,
Oh.
like, "Follow me on Facebook," or any like, the store owner is so, like, scared to, like I
Her
don't know.
stuff might bring them business.
What was that? Oh,
Well,
yes!
her
Yeah,
it
exactly, yes. So that's
Aw.
what I'm like, I always say, like, have, like, your business cards as, like, your tag so
Uh-huh.
people know where to find you and have business
Yeah.
cards there. Or, like, I thought even, like, I'm gonna be doing, like I love how Debbie did that video on the little zip drive and showcasing all
Yeah, I
of
can't wait
DIY.
to get that hooked up over there.
Yes. And so I
Yeah.
said, like, even having like a QR code to direct them to like,
Yep.
even about yourself or something like
Yep.
that. So, but yes, by me promoting it, like, it generated so much for the store,
Oh,
like, that's why I feel so bad for like, I don't know what that store owner, it's like a little vendor mall or like a vendor booth area, but I'm
yeah.
like, "What is she thinking, that store owner?" Like, all these
Maybe she'll
other
change because I
maybe.
know I've changed a lot of stuff too. And that's why I thank you so much because just what you described, I very honored that I'm getting to do this right now. And I know
Yeah.
it's I mean, you got a huge following and it's like, thank you because, I'm still like trying to get there, okay? And Debbie's last collaboration that
Oh
you
my
got to be on
gosh.
for the new release,
Yes. Yes.
I got almost at that. I probably got over 1,000 new subscribers
That's
on
awesome.
YouTube because I've been trying to build that for, well, the last year I've been consistent, but I've had a YouTube channel for 5 years. And I think I'm seeing the light at the end. I think this thing might work. I'm only a few
Yeah.
watch hours away from being able to apply to be monetized. I don't know what
Right.
that means, but I'm going to go for it because a goal oriented
Absolutely.
like you. My biggest goal on that is to get traffic to my website.
Yes.
I
And
don't know
it
how
does
much
help.
money you can make on the other thing. That's just I'm not my vision is very small on that right now. I just need more because there's only 3 crafters in this town. I swear.
Yeah.
I know I got it
It's
up to 10 now.
Oh, that's funny. No, honestly, like, when I started my YouTube channel, like, I did it, because I wanted people to find my booths. I mean, like,
Oh
it
man.
wasn't I didn't even have an online presence at all,
Uh-huh.
and then as I was doing my videos, people were asking for that too,
Oh,
because then I realized the greater reach, and then I came up with my online store, and then, yeah, it just, like, it's everything that I've done is because my customers or viewers have asked
oh
for it.
man, that's
So
amazing. It's so nice to find. I didn't know that there were others out there like me. And then I've got my 2 friends, we call it Junkin' Beauties, and we have little group text and glides and stuff, and we all have the same story. We have a lot of stuff, and our
yes.
it drives our people in our lives. They don't get it. So you gotta find the people that get it.
No,
So you can feel
I totally
normal,
hear you.
kinda normal.
Yes, yes. I know, and, like, when I interviewed my husband too, because a lot of people wanted to know, like, how he dealt with it. Like, how does he deal with not having a kitchen table sometimes? And,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's like, "I just am understanding," and I'm like, "Be honest, Craig. Be, like, honest."
I gotta
Like
watch that.
yeah.
I gotta get back and watch that.
He just, he's like, "Well, I don't want him to think like I really get upset." I'm like, "Well, I know." And we
Oh,
never like he doesn't really get upset. He understands, but then I'm like, "Be honest. Tell him you really like a place to eat," because he does. Because he'll say
yeah.
to me, "All right, the kitchen table was cleaned off, but can you clean it off so we can eat dinner, dear?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can
Oh
do
my gosh,
it."
I love it.
It just
Yeah, my
but
husband, I told him, I said, "You were so classy before you married me." Like, they were like the Leave It to Beaver family, and here comes in this wild, "Wah!" And now I've got him trained. He's like he'll be calling me, "Honey, hey, go down 4th Street in the alley. There's solid wood with curves. Hurry up or somebody's gonna get it." And I'm like,
right.
"I love you."
I know. And actually, like, he complains, like, when I do pick and go thrifting
Yeah.
and stuff, but my husband does the same thing. He'll be like,
Mhm.
"Hey, just so you know, there's something that looks good over on this street." So he's, like, getting on
Yes.
board. And I do
Yeah.
have to say, one of the questions that I did ask him because my viewers wanted to know is like, "Craig, would you ever do the business with Sonnet?" And
Mm.
honestly, I thought his would be like, "No." And he's like, "Yeah, I would consider it." And I'm like,
Oh my
"What?
gosh.
Oh my gosh." Like, I just was so like, a lot of the answers that he said during that interview, like, really caught me off guard. Cause
Oh, yeah. Ooh, maybe I'll have to interview my husband.
you
I'm gonna go watch
should.
that, and I'm gonna copycat you, okay?
Okay, that's alright. But no, honestly, like, it was so good. It was like it actually made me
Oh,
see a different when we
yeah.
okay, so, like, I had all the questions, and I just like I for anybody I interview, I always give the questions ahead of time, just
Mhm.
so I don't want you to ever feel off guard, and I didn't want him to, like,
Yeah.
feel, like, off guard either. So he got to see all the
Oh.
questions, but he didn't tell me any of the answers like he
Uh-huh.
was gonna say. So when I interviewed him, we were standing together and I like I said, I was kind of like well, and I had to explain who,
Oh.
one of the questions was like, "Will you, or are you gonna give, Zeb a run for his money?" And so I had to explain who Jamie and Zeb were. So
Oh, that's funny. Oh,
but then
that's funny.
actually, as I was telling him who they were, and he's like, "Oh, I remember you talking about them because you mentioned they were in your like, when they went on their recent trip, their picking trip
Yeah.
over in
Uh-huh.
Europe," and I said, "That looks like so fun, like, I would love to do that," and so he
Yes.
remembered,
Yeah.
like, I had mentioned that to him, and he's like, "Oh, now I
Oh
remember who
my
you're talking about."
gosh. Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. Oh, I can't wait to see. Well, that would be a goal for us too, is because my husband actually he can retire in a couple of years, but financially, he probably should go a little bit longer. But I'm like, hey, because he taught me what I know about. I hadn't even ever picked up a drill until in my 40s. Because I was always
Really?
like, ooh. And so I just watched him because he knows how to woodwork and do some things. And so I couldn't wait on him. I'd have to wait on him forever to do stuff because he was busy or super tired. And so I just started going in there. I was like, dear Jesus, I love my phalanges. Help me to not cut them off. And I'd be working that chop saw.
Oh my
And
gosh.
because he taught, and so now I'm like, but what was hard is he is a perfectionist. Like he would be a master level woodworking. I'm like, honey, it's shabby chic. Just throw it together. So we're kind of get a little bit crazy on that, but we've kind of learned. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I am very, very fortunate that I came from a background with my dad being like was a carpenter and
Oh
he
my
did all of that, and
goodness.
so, like,
That's
I'm
cool.
like, if my dad can do it, like, he even I was the oldest, so, like, he took me doing everything. I literally, like, was a
Oh,
fisherman, I was a hunter, everything because I was the oldest, and
yeah.
then finally when my brother came along, because some of the adventures at that time, I was probably not as thrilled to do. So, he would be like,
That's
"Hey,
funny.
I need somebody to go fishing with today." I'm like, "I really don't wanna go." "Well, you're going." I'm like, "Okay, I'm going."
I wondered how you got into all that because I hear it and I'm like, "Oh, wow." Because 'cause I'm like, "Wow,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was
I
my
don't."
dad. Yeah, I was the oldest, and
Aw,
he, like, took me along, and then
that's cool.
yeah, and then Brandon, my brother, came along, and then he kinda, like, fit, like, well, I was older at that point too, so I was doing more girly
Oh, yeah.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you started having a life.
Yeah, and, like, wanted to, like,
Mhm,
not go fishing at that point in life,
mhm.
but it made me who I am today, like, all
Yep,
of that, and
yep.
so, but yeah, like, we built stuff and, like,
Oh,
thrifting
man.
is embedded in me because we didn't have a lot of
I
money
love
growing up,
it.
and so, like,
Yeah.
I just yeah, I have just a love
I
of so
just
many things because of
yes, I love to take something crusty, rusty, and make it pretty. It's my favorite. I
yeah,
still like new market stuff. I will always be the kind that like both, but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so one thing too, like, you talked about, like, helping with getting your vendors to know, like, other people to know about
Mhm.
them, but, like, and I'm sure you're gonna teach them, like, all about vignettes. I love vignettes and
I've got a
creating these.
private group and I wanna do that. Yeah.
Yes, like,
Yeah.
yeah, because that is one of my favorite things, to talk
Me
about and,
too.
like,
Mhm.
really either makes or breaks a storefront. It really
Yep.
does. So,
Yep.
like, what is your process of creating a vignette? Like, do you have, like, something you have a private group for your vendors?
Well, I do. I just started it. I'm gonna
Okay.
try to get them in there so that they can business tips and like
Oh, I
whoever
like it.
and it's other, I started it for other people too, just to kind of help other.
Yeah.
And then it didn't really get active and stuff, so I'm just using it for that too.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm just gonna tell them like there's some rules of thumb of decorating, but everything goes really. But usually I just say, like I'm gonna teach them stuff like get what you like, get a mirror you like. Okay, let's layer another mirror in front of it because you usually want to it's threes, the rules of
Yeah.
three. So if you have a sunflower in a jar, another way to do it is a sunflower transfer on the mirror. And then you might have the packets of sunflower seeds, and how it's really pleasing to the eye to see it three different times in like a room, but you can pull it, it's almost like the whole
Yeah.
room is a vignette. But then you think
Right.
of it as smaller scale, just things you love, like, oh, my grandma used to love to read. So stack some old books up. Here's her old reading glasses. I'm going to set them right on top of that. So it's sentimental, and then oh, you use glasses to read, just whatever kind of, that's some ways to do it. So, and then it's
Yeah.
always best to like height, like
Yes.
have something high, have something low, have something, a color in the background. So it's
Yeah.
really easy. And once you get going, I mean, there's no right or wrong to it, but you want to do it with things you love.
Right.
And so, yeah, just
Oh, I
I
love
please
how
them.
because I actually you just taught me something. I love it. I love how you when we were talking about the sunflowers and adding that sunflower transfer here, and then
Yeah,
the I guess I never thought of I always think of things, but I guess a sunflower is a thing too, and
yeah.
that is perfect.
Yeah.
So,
I've noticed a lot of times when people, like, do their mantle, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but, like, if they have 2 candlesticks, they're like, put it left, right.
yeah.
But sometimes it's cuter to stick them together and then maybe
Mhm.
put another little candlestick here, that rule of thumb, and then, like,
Yeah.
something in the middle. So, don't just go kind of make it a cluster. And I learned this
Right.
from the Iron Orchid training, and what they say, leave some open space. Sometimes when we're doing a piece, not just a piece, but a room, you think every little spot has to be covered. No, they say do a little grouping and give your eye a place to rest,
Yep.
and then do it again. So, like, in my
Mhm.
walls in my studio, I'm not quite finished with it yet, but I went ahead and put it on the video. I did, it's like very big stickers that you can get, and I did it
I
in a
saw
client's home too. They're
Yeah.
they're Amazon, it's so good. And, then I'm gonna add my little, for real, IOD, because they're smaller scale and I wanted it big because it's huge space. So I'm clustering it in a corner, and then I put it in this other corner. So it's kind of like this, kind of a
Yeah.
trail. And so, yeah, you don't want it just like polka dots or, all
Right.
over. So you want it like
Yes.
cluster it. So that's a rule of thumb I learned from them too, just composition, how
Mhm,
to put a
because even
composition
in a
together.
booth space, like, I honestly, like, some people like, some booths I go by and I'm like, "Holy heck, there is so much going on in here, there is
Mhm.
nowhere for me to rest." It's overwhelming, it's like,
There you
it
go. There you go.
yeah, yeah, it is l
Overwhelm.
yes, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't even know what I should even be looking at, so I
Right.
always say too, a little less is more, like, yes,
Right.
I also have the rule of thumb of if you don't have it in your booth, it's not gonna sell, but will it sell if it's too overwhelming?
Exactly. Debbie Beard taught us that in the retailers group, that, and I taught my little lady when I was trying to help her in the coffee shop craft
Yeah,
store. Like, if you bought 20 at New Market of, like, candlesticks,
yeah,
and she would go put them everywhere in the store like this. But Debbie says pull all that together and it makes more impact.
it does, yeah,
So,
yeah. I know even, like, like, when I created my DIY paint display, I'm like, I want it to look substantial, and yes,
mm,
was it a bigger investment? Absolutely, but do more
mhm.
paint sell? Absolutely,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm constantly, like, stocking because I'm going through that much, so,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like and are the largest I mean, obviously, the 8 ounces are the best sellers, and then, the 16, but, like, I do still sell quite a few of the bigger
Yeah.
cans too,
Yeah,
so
it's so different because I see that in the retail group. How do we get started? Which ones to buy? Well, I mean, I've got a little clientele built in this town of that, and so they buy the bigger ones because it's a better value.
it
But it's
really is.
people that use a lot because it goes so far.
It
So,
does.
yeah, so it's funny how I sell a lot of the 32 ounces, like,
Yeah.
a lot, like,
But I
it's
notice,
weird.
like, when Debbie does the videos of or,
Mhm.
like, when people share, I should say, their photos of their,
Yeah.
displays, one thing I notice, a lot of them lack they must not buy the big ones, so what I
Yeah.
yeah, and it
I
just
always try to
makes
keep 1 on there, and then I keep 2 16 ounces, and then I keep 2. So it's 2, 2. I did used to keep 2, and I might get back to that again. Again, my space is just so small. I'm gonna have a lot bigger space. But
yeah,
yeah, and just another thing with vignettes is, my personality is contrast. I like
yes.
contrast. Some
Yeah,
people like to settle and blend, like cream on cream and whites and mix, and I think that's beautiful too. But for the, black can paint, I have the yellow, the queen bee, to so it contrasts and it just makes the can pop.
yeah,
And so, you think about that stuff. Do you want it contrasty or do you want it to blend? I feel like when you're selling something, you want it to pop
pop.
or be highlighted, but maybe
Mhm.
in your home, you want a more, soothing kind of, not like, you know.
Yeah.
So,
No, absolutely, and I I know. I could talk vignettes and, like, do
Mhm.
vignettes all day long. I wish I had more
Yes.
time to create the perfect
Mhm.
vignette,
Mhm.
in all of my booths, and I talk about it, and then sometimes I look at my vignettes, I'm like, "Oh, because I don't have as much time to really dedicate
I
to my
know.
3 booths, but,
Yeah.
what I've been doing is, like, focusing on getting more of the different DIY products in my
Mhm.
booths too, and that's been
Yep.
going over good, and now I have because that space has taken over, I have a much more manageable space to create the vignettes, so
Yeah.
I like it,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's going good, so, but yeah, I think that your new space is gonna be absolutely amazing,
Yeah.
and,
Thank you.
so when do you anticipate that you are gonna
I
be
just
doing
Well, one of my vendors that was ready to go just I mean, she sells rod and knives, so she just needs a little bitty space and she's ready to go in. But anyway, I told her January 3rd is a Friday. So,
Okay,
and that's the first BFF night too. So I think that'll be my first. I probably won't open the 10 to 5 like normal that day. I'll probably just open like 1 to 5 and then 6 to 8 is our first thing. And then I think my grand opening will be that Saturday. So
okay.
I'll have another month to actually get in there because it's good enough to start moving the things in. We got a
Yes.
bunch of the big pieces in to the retail stuff, and it'll most of it's going to be my stuff, honestly, right now. But
Right.
I'm just going to grow the vendors, and that's fine. So,
Yes.
and
I
then we'll
cannot
start
wait.
doing them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
am so excited to be able to host the because down the middle, I want to have a like pop up vendors. Oh, and another thing I want to do, we have cottage laws in Oklahoma. And so you can bake things not in a commercial kitchen as long as you have the label and it's not prepared in the date and the ingredients. So
Okay.
that's something I love to do is cook. And so I'm going to have a vendor of bakery items. Every first Friday, we have the homemade cinnamon rolls. That'll be me. And then, so that gives them an opportunity of a place to go with it.
Right.
And it gives something that people, oh, I'm going to go get a goodie today. I wasn't planning on buying a piece of jewelry, but look, it's sitting right there,
Right.
So yeah, so
Yes,
we're going
like,
to have
get
that
them
too.
in your door to
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and then, "Oh, I can have my kid's birthday party here? Yes. Give me your
yeah,
price point," because I
right,
ask people, "What is your price point? What do you want each person to spend if they're booking a party?"
right.
And then if you see something on Pinterest, I'll create it, and then we'll show you, so
Awesome.
I'm
You
excited to
have
be able to
so
do that.
many amazing ideas, I just love it. So
Too many.
yes, yes, but I think you have a really good vision. I do. I really do, and I'm excited to see where you take it, and, yes, and so if my viewers want to be inspired by you and find you and follow you, where can they I know you're on Facebook, and now
Mhm,
you said YouTube. Are you on any of
mhm.
the other platforms?
Well, I was having a girl do some of the Instagram for me and Pinterest, and I'm going to get back to, having some of that. But everything's Decorizing Your Life. Decorizingyourlife.com is my website. Decorizing Your
Okay.
Life, YouTube, Decorizing Your Life, Facebook, and Instagram too. I'm really active on Facebook, but now I'm kind of shifting more to the YouTube. And
Mhm.
so, but I mean, both YouTube and Facebook are my two main things. So I'd
Okay.
love to see them over there you
Yeah,
know?
so hopefully, they'll give you a watch and a follow. Give her
Mhm.
some love, you guys. Go out
Thank
there
you.
and yes,
Thank
follow her
you.
along and on her journey, and,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really
Yeah, it really
excited.
does help. Like, if you wanna help a small business without spending a dime, I always say, like, comment, share, and watch when you do YouTube, watch it all the way through, but I tell my people, I'm honest. I'm like, "Hey, if you don't wanna watch it, just let it go all the way through and scrub your toilets." I'm trying to get the watch hours right now. I've just got a little bit more to go. Anyways, but
Oh,
I would hope they'd wanna watch it, but I get
no, I
it.
do
I
too.
don't
I
watch
do.
people like me sometimes. It's so funny how, if you're wanting to get on to help your business, social, just be you because you're going to have longevity and it's exhausting to be anything else but you, right?
Right.
And you're not going to keep it up. And people will find you, they'll like it. Like I watch cooking shows that are, we are going to take the flour now, and now we are going to, but you know why I can watch those people and like it? Because I'm like this all the time and
It's soothing.
it
Yes.
quiets me, and I'm like, it's almost like a sing-song lullaby, you know?
Right.
So
Yes.
just be you, and you'll have those people that, watch you for whatever reason.
Right.
Just get
Oh,
going is my biggest tip.
Absolutely. I agree. Yes, just, like, either hit record or put a post out or do
Yeah,
whatever.
it does get easier. You
Yeah.
do get more comfortable. I promise. I was about to throw up the first one I did. I was like, "Ooh."
I know. I actually cringe at the videos that I first produced or
Yeah.
I produced them. No, I'm a producer. Like, I put out. I remember,
Yeah, I
like,
know.
oh, but
I
you know
know.
what? We all have to start somewhere. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
cringe at the stuff I put on there. Sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I cannot believe I said that." People
That's
know, like, we're in a very small town, and so people are like, "Oh, I watch your wife. What is she doing today?" I'm like,
that's awesome.
"You're kidding. They've never liked, they've never commented. I didn't even know. You're
Mhm.
kidding. They
Oh,
know every move I made. They knew I went to the city to shop or I did this or did that." And
mhm.
it's a little bit creepy when you live in a small town.
I know. And it's
Sometimes my
amazing how many
husband finds
people
out
watch.
what I'm doing.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many people watch you live and never comment or, like, I
I
always say, like,
know.
"Hey, let me know if you're watching,"
I
and,
know.
there's only a few people,
They
and
don't
I'm
get it.
looking and I'm
I
like,
don't I
"Okay."
don't know you because I comment and I read all the stuff. Now, when you get a really super huge thing going, I don't know how you would, but I literally have learned so much from mean people and good people and
Yeah.
encouraged. And I learn so much. I thought, oh, I didn't think about that. Okay, I'm doing that.
Yes,
I love
yes.
it. That's the point, right? I mean, I know
Mhm.
social media could be bad because it makes you in this all the time, but at the same time, I feel like I have a lot of relationships with a lot of my followers and
Yeah. No,
people
I
that really
agree.
care.
I
I'm
know.
shocked.
I know. I
What?
agree, I
Nike?
agree. Yes, so
So, anyway,
But yes, but I do wanna thank you for being on my
thank you.
podcast
Thank
today,
you.
and I love that my viewers and listeners had the opportunity to meet you and
Oh,
see just how amazing you are, and definitely, like I said, give her some love, you guys. So, all right, you guys, in next week's episode, I'm gonna chat about reflecting on the past year in my business, and I'm gonna
ooh,
recap what my goals were, and give you guys a check and balance of, what I accomplished, what I didn't accomplish, and kind of just go over all those good things. So mark that on your calendar. And then if you guys don't already, and you're listening, go ahead, rate, review, and subscribe to my podcast, so you guys don't miss out on any episodes. And if you're watching on YouTube, like Shyla says, how do you say it? Like, comment,
comment,
and
share, and
share.
watch it all the way through while you're scrubbing your
Yes.
toilets.
Watch your scrubbing your
You
toilets.
can edit that out.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and now I'm thinking about TikTok, you guys. Like, I am on
Oh,
there, but I'm really gonna try to maybe dive in because I heard TikTok is gonna be bought by somebody local. I don't know if it's true, like in the
what?
US. Yes, I did
Okay,
hear
you
it.
get it figured out and let us little people know because that's like out there to me. I don't even know how to do that,
Yes,
but we'll
so
figure it out.
I'm working on that. I've been posting here and there, but I'm thinking about diving all the way in. All right. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode, and we're gonna see you guys next week. Bye.